Welcome to the Call to Farms podcast. I'm your host, Tim. I'm joined with my lovely wife, Sophie.
Hey, friends.
Well, we're back for our October update. It has been quite a while, and there has been so many things that have occurred, especially in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, first I want to make a comment on this shirt of yours. It's 10 o'clock at night.
Hello.
And this is a shirt I got you because I was at Google speaking and I was asking you if you wanted me to send home a Google shirt, and you said that would be douchey.
It's douchey to just wear a Google shirt, please. But this, have you ever played the little game on there when it goes out, the website goes out? And plus, this dinosaur glows in the dark. That's the best part. I love glow in the dark t-shirts. I couldn't have designed this shirt better. He's so happy too.
So weird. You also need a haircut.
If you believe in dinosaurs, I don't know. Yeah, I do need a haircut. It's almost bedtime. We are literally doing this while the kids are in bed. I don't even think they're asleep yet, but we're sneaking away, and we want to get in this update. We know it's been a long time, so here we are. We've got the bright light on us, and we're just so glad to be here to just chat with you.
Yeah. I take off in a couple of hours again for a team meeting in Washington State with Melissa K. Norris and team. So I'm really excited about that. But we wanted to pop in because we didn't get to pop in with an update in September. I think with the way that the market has been, it's been really crazy. Work has been really crazy on our end. And we have some updates too with our family that, is good to talk about. It's hard to talk about, but good to talk about too as well.
Yeah. I mean, talk about this housing market update. Let's talk about that first. I should be used to this coming from the Army, the whole hurry up and wait. And I believe on the last housing market update, I said, now's the right time to buy because a lot of buyers are on the fence. You need to get in right now, get a great deal on a home, get your offers in so you don't have to outbid one another. Well, I'm looking around and, interest rates started going up and it really did come to a screeching halt. A lot of buyers have just been window shopping. That's what I've been noticing.
Well, yes and no. Rates did go down slightly from the last update we talked about. There was a little window of opportunity to get refinances in. And when the Feds made the announcement for a rate cut of 50 basis points, rates have been climbing up since. So now we're talking about 7.5s again, which isn't bad. What that means is that what they're saying is employment numbers are up, all of the numbers are up. But, if you're following us, you probably know a little bit more about how the markets and the systems are manipulated. The reason why we came in hard and strong in August for everybody here to let you know that if you need to make a move, if you want to make a move, make it now. If you want to refinance, do that now. It's because clients of mine who have waited a week or two ago, I'm having to float their rates. So, the good thing is that you get your file in, you're in the system, and when the rates drop, we can go ahead and lock you then, rather than what they did, which was take the time thinking that rates were going to drop steadily. And honestly, it hasn't. It's gone up since. And, as everyone knows, this is an election year. We've got probably another 3 weeks until elections.
Yep.
A couple of things have happened on the front, like Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton that hit through Florida. Helene hit East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, which honestly was kind of a freak hurricane that should not have happened in our neck of the woods, but did. And that's something that, we can talk about maybe on another episode.
We'll talk a little bit about that today,
about how all markets are manipulated. So
maybe the weather's manipulated too.
Maybe
that should wake up some people.
Maybe. But, we have been boots on the ground with our friends.
Yep.
Luckily, we were spared. So we had a couple of trees that were down. And I actually wasn't here for this. I was at Ferment Oaxaca in Oaxaca, Mexico. So maybe you can talk about what you saw and what you thought.
Well, I mean, for us, the winds were pretty strong and there was a lot of debris on the roads. Fortunately, we did have four-wheel drive, and so it was fine to drive around, but there were a lot of hazardous warnings coming through the cell phones of stay home, only travel if you have to travel, because there was a lot of tree debris on the roads. And a lot of the power went out. So I know half of our county was out for over 30 hours. We were very blessed in terms of we only lost power for 30 minutes to about an hour. But we've just been following up on a lot of our friends and family members and or just loved ones who are out here. And a lot of them did suffer, a lot of losses, especially in Western North Carolina. And so I believe it was last weekend, we did help out and we have been following up closely with a lot of the rescue situation. Not rescue, but what would you call it? More like supporting and
It's just disaster relief work that we've
disaster.
been helping with.
Hmm.
Sadly, a lot of the news isn't reporting on what's really going on. In fact, it wasn't until day 10 that I had a bunch of text messages from old clients and friends from the West Coast
Yeah.
that had just recently heard about how dire the situation was here
Yeah.
in East Tennessee. In fact, most people don't even know still what's truly going on. And a lot of what's being reported, if any of it is being reported, is talking about Western North Carolina, which is kind of the Asheville area. But there are a lot of other towns and counties affected, and much less like what we're seeing here in East Tennessee. Specifically, we've got Irwin, Unicoi, Elizabethton, that some little small towns were completely wiped off. And the topography has changed here and as well as Western North Carolina. In fact, there is Highway 40 that will take you from East Tennessee to Asheville. And that used to be the route that I would take weekly for my clients in Barnardsville. And that freeway is completely shut down
I think you
due
meant
to
I-26.
oh, is it
But
not 40?
no, but
Oh,
actually
I-26.
both
Both are
highways are
right.
down. From I-26 in between going from Tennessee to North Carolina is going to be shut down for at least 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And that's big news. And just like what you were just mentioning, Interstate 40, which starts from California and goes to North Carolina. So that stretch from Knoxville to Asheville is shut down as well. So Asheville is kind of like an island. And there's only one or two ways to get in, primarily from the Charlotte area. And that's going to really affect logistics.
Yeah, and not only that, this week, next Tuesday is actually going to be our first frost. And there are a lot of people still stuck in the mountains. And that's not what the news is saying. They're really just talking about these cities and how they're rebuilding and all that great news. But there are small pockets of people who live in the mountains that have no way to get down and people have no way to get up. We've been in contact with Alicia Warnikov, which is a good friend of ours, and Daniel Warnikov from Painted Bear Coffee in Gatlinburg. And they've been working directly with folks from Samaritan's Purse. Even before they came on site, they were already working at Newport, Tennessee to clean up the mess that had happened there, the flooding that happened there. And we are often in the area to pick up supplies.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there are people that have been called to with their mules, their pack mules and their horses to get to these really remote places that are already, the roads are completely down. And what's really sad is what's not being reported is the accurate numbers of deaths that have happened.
I think they're only reporting 200, 250 people, but that number is just scratching the surface.
Exactly, because there's a small town that we know of that had just ordered 250 body bags alone for that small city. And yet, here we are on the news saying like, oh, only 171 people have passed. This is the death count from Hurricane Helene. And that is horribly inaccurate. And that's probably why it's not getting any time and airtime, which unfortunately is not, it's not great. And
Yeah.
so if you are able to help donate in any way, there are many organizations. We would not recommend any of the larger organizations.
Or contributing to any of the major shopping stores that ask you to round up. Don't do that. Make sure if you do donate your money, go donate to an organization that like you actually know the people that are working within that organization, so that you know that your money is actually going to go towards helping someone.
Right. And there were accounts of people who had donated. We had donated a lot of our winter items as we are making, this is a winter cleaning, I guess.
Sure.
And because of that, we had donated. And what we had found was FEMA was actually confiscating a lot of the supplies from not just food donations, but also fuel. What we have organized and the people that we know that are putting us all together is the people who are actually coming to help. The helicopters, the Black Hawks, are actually private helicopters and private Black Hawks.
Yeah.
Some of that have come from Texas, actually, from prior military folks. And so we really love to see this. It really does warm our hearts to see the whole community come together.
And it's not just the local community, but just like what you mentioned, from Texas, from California,
from Florida,
from other states,
a lot
coming together.
Governor DeSantis has been really helpful through this effort. So that was surprising for me. And when we look at our own governor
or
here
North
in
Carolina's
Tennessee,
governor, we haven't heard from
we
either.
hadn't heard. And if anything, from the federal side, it's handing $750 per family, and it's really a slap in the face when you think about where our taxpayer dollars are going.
Yeah.
It is going to overseas, Ukraine, Israel, and we have heard reports of Tennessee National Guard being on reserve and hold to actually not help out in East Tennessee, but to deploy to the Middle East.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I'm coming from the military as well. Like, that would really make me upset if I can't even defend our own homeland. So, I mean, we shouldn't, I'm not going to stay on the soapbox, but I just wanted to let you know, you need to do your research to see if you want to contribute, you want to help the ground, find out what the ground truth is. The news is not reporting the truth. And from what we're hearing from people who are working on the ground, I mean, it's a lot of private folks that are donating their time, they're donating their money.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the helicopters are private helicopters. And it's just a beautiful thing to see everyone pitching in. But it's also really sad that we have all this faith and trust in these entities that we thought are going to come and help us out in our time of need, and they're nowhere to be found. In fact, East Tennessee, well, we're pretty proud of it. We represent East Tennessee and kicked out FEMA. So FEMA's not here, which is good, actually. And
well, the reason why was FEMA actually, so there's a town called Checky in Tennessee here, and they had suffered a massive flood. And so the folks came out and start putting tents together and organizing the donations. FEMA came in and started to confiscate and kick them out. And so the folks of East Tennessee and Checky in particular really pushed back on it. Yeah. And so FEMA left East Tennessee and actually went over to Asheville and made that area non-accessible to non-government entities.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I think the lesson in all of this for all of us is to realize that, you can only be so prepared. There are things that happen beyond our control. Absolutely. And things that shouldn't happen. For example, this flood that is 1 in 1,000 years. if that was even supposed to happen. And so if you think about, prepping for your food and supplies and medical supplies, and now all of a sudden, the powers that be open up 2 dams and flood your entire home and everything that your farm, that's all washed down the river.
Yeah.
And so this comes to the realization of, who you're surrounded by, who are your community folks. And that's one of the reasons why we moved out here.
That's what we've been harping on a lot of our podcasts. And you'll hear a lot of these prepper ones that are speaking, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Okay, well, what's all these multiple generators going to help you when you're up against all these quote unquote acts of God or what have you, that are manipulating things? It really opened up our eyes to show us like, wow, they can just throw everything at you. And at the end of the day, it really is just love. It really is the power of community. And if you take a look around right now and you look to your left and to your right, are your neighbors going to be helping you out in your time of need? Are your friends and family going to be there for you? I mean, not to scare you, but this should be like a wake-up call. And even if you're in a place like where we're at, where we feel we're growing our own food, we're doing the best that we can, we're learning the skills, getting back to our roots, learning traditional skills. Like, these are all really good things. And these are all the things that we can do and teach our children to do. At the end of the day, it does come down to community.
So that's kind of the update of what happened here in our area with Hurricane Helene. And I know just this past week, Hurricane Milton came and swept through Tampa and most of Florida. But I think that resolved pretty quickly with, I don't want to say minimal damage. There was damage, and power was out for 3 million people. But from what we're seeing in the news, it didn't seem as catastrophic as it was here in our area.
We don't have contacts that are out there to report the ground truths of what we're seeing, but from the news that we're hearing, obviously, doesn't sound that bad, but we don't know. It could be pretty bad down there as well.
Right.
So our prayers go out to all of those who suffered from both of those hurricanes. I mean, that's some scary stuff.
Yeah. So with that being said, this week we also, oh my gosh.
Reflection.
Let's see. Let's go back to September. This is not obviously organized in any shape or form.
It's unedited. Yeah.
But in September, let's see, what did we do? We did a hop. I was out for 2 weeks total. I packed for a quick trip to Jamaica to visit friends with our family and friends. And then shortly after that, I flew out to Maine and spoke at MOFGA, so the Maine Organic Farmers and Growers Association. This is my second year speaking there. And it was packed house as well. I got to meet Galen again, which was who, if you followed me last year from MOFGA on Instagram, he was the one that was like, we have a max capacity of 80 people under this tent and you hit 120. So this year he set up and rearranged the way the tent was and fit 120, and it was still standing room only. We probably had 140 people. I taught 2 classes this time, 2 master classes. It was the pho master class as well as a kimchi master class. And we got to bring our eldest daughter, and it was really good to have her there and see 66,000 people show up to the event. And, I want to maximize my time with her so that she, while that she still thinks I'm cool, because much sooner, she's going to realize that, mommy's not that great.
It sounds like you guys had a lot of fun, and I'll have to join you guys next time because it sounds like it's a huge event.
Yeah.
A lot of great
speakers, great vendors. Yeah. I mean, it's such a great event.
And a beautiful atmosphere, beautiful scenery.
I love Maine a lot. If you haven't been there, I'd highly recommend it. The leaves were already starting to turn.
Yeah.
And that was probably 3 weeks ago. So it was beautiful, and we got some time together, and we got to go shop. She really wanted to go shopping, which is really weird for her. Like we used to go thrift shopping together, but yeah. And then right after Maine, I flew to Ferment, Oaxaca in Oaxaca, Mexico. And I met with my best friend, Danny. And Danny and I went from Dallas. We met up in Dallas. We were 3 minutes late for our flight to catch the flight to Oaxaca because the weather was already starting to get crazy with all the hurricanes and the storms. So we went to Oaxaca and ate at so many wonderful places. David Zilber, who wrote the Noma Guide to Fermentation, was also a speaker there. I met Hugo Chase, who is My Fermentation on Instagram. Great French accent. I actually got to cook with him in the kitchen on the last night as a private dinner for all of the honored guests. And then Trevor is Milk Trucker online on Instagram. So we really got to connect, and stay tuned, because although he isn't doing any more cheese making and milk tours in 2025, he may make an exception for us here in East Tennessee. So that'll be really exciting. And then I got to meet Mary Ruddick, and I got to see Hilda again, and Galia and Raquel, who are the organizers of the event. They were just great altogether. I want to do a quick highlight, though. The highlight of my trip there was visiting this old, quaint town far away in the country. And we visited these older folks who were featured in the book Beverages of Oaxaca. He and his wife made a tepache. If you aren't familiar with that, it's a fermented drink, and they used the rinds of your pineapple, your banana, all sorts of different fruit, apples in there. But you ferment it, and the way that he did it, they do it underground in a clay pot, and it's heated, and it's properly fermented in 4 days. He also had a beautiful panela factory. So panela is raw, sugar cane that then is cooked up into an unrefined sugar. But it has not been operating in several years because it takes 12 people to operate the machine, and nobody wants to work anymore. His children have moved to the cities in New York and and Chicago. And to me, when I went here, I had this vision of whole families. I always think that, American families were all kind of separated and segregated in different areas. But in traditional cultures, where like the Mexican culture, the Asian culture, like most cultures that are more traditional, I always felt like the families still live together. And so upon seeing this, it made me really sad to realize that these traditions are disappearing before our eyes. And it is happening right now. I always thought that I had time for example, going to Asia. And you and I have talked about this, like, going to Asia, you want to go to the cities, the big cities, and visit like Japan and Tokyo and things. Whereas I want to go to Hokkaido, like I want to go up into the mountains, and I want to be with the folks that have lived in these mountainous rural areas, so that we can learn about the traditions, the disappearing traditions. And, the cities will always be there. So this was just a reflection of mine seeing it. It was really heartbreaking because now he's having to import panela from another area instead of getting and making the panela from his own land. And he said that was actually the best tepache whenever he could make it with his own panela. So the panela that he's importing in isn't great. And so it just, is this just the reality of, here we are, we talked about being the sandwich generation and taking care of like our elderly parents, and then having younger children and trying to soak up and learn all the knowledge and all the skills. But, well, honestly, we we work and we're trying to make ends meet and taking care of mom and dad and taking care of the children. So we don't have all that much time.
Yeah.
And so it's really disheartening to see that we're running out of time. And also we're really running out of time in these areas that I thought that we would have more time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's a huge wake-up call. And that actually segues to spending time with dad as well, right? I mean, just, okay, we're losing all these traditions, and a wake-up call to maybe we need to go back to our roots. I mean, we have been, like, going back to the land, but going back to like countries of origin and learning some of those practices directly from the people. And that's going to be pretty cool. That'd be a great experience for the children. But also reminded us too, we need to look at our family as well. So spend time with our family. So that's been something that we've been focusing in on even more so the past week or so. So if it wasn't for hurricanes coming through
disasters
and just your experiences from overseas, but just our entire journey of food and health and getting our hands in the dirt and just making this 180 shift from the cities to the country, all of it blends well together. And at the center of it, why we do it is for family.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've just been reminded of, just been kind of hammered back into us.
Yeah.
But the past couple of weeks more so. So, I mean, we want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I mean, this year I was booked for 17 speaking engagements. And the Nourishing Asian Kitchen cookbook came out last December 7th, 2023. And so I wanted to give the book a full year and, let it live to its full potential for a year. And so wherever I was invited to speak, I said yes and could make it work. But in all actuality, this started like the first week of January at Dr. Bill Schindler's. And, it just kept going and going. And then I had a quick 2-month break between July and August. But even within that time, there were so many things going on in the home. And that's probably the busiest time on the farm. If you are homesteading, that's when, at least here in East Tennessee, we're swamped with all of our vegetables and our fruit and helping others. And then on top of that, we have our dairy cattle too. And so after that, I hit the ground running again for the last leg of the book tour in literally Jamaica and Maine and Oaxaca. And then we had a whole week where we just spent time with our family camping for Sukkot, where we celebrated the Festival of Booths and spent our evenings and our mornings out at camp and got to be with really good family friends, our friends who have become family.
Yeah.
We've had great conversations, read through the entire book of Deuteronomy. We cooked everything by campfire.
It was really special.
It was really special.
It was a good time.
And then now coming from the heels of it, I'm headed out to Seattle tomorrow. And then I end the 2024 book tour at Wise Traditions in Orlando.
Yep.
And we're really excited about that because this is Sally Fallon's conference. And it's such an honor to be able to speak at Wise Traditions. I mean, all of the people there are very like-minded in every single way. And so it's just a great community, a great family as well. And it's going to be a great way to just bookend 2024.
Yeah. I mean, I know the girls and I are really proud of you. And this year has been a whirlwind, but we are going to end on a high note.
Yeah.
The Wise Traditions Conference is like the Super Bowl of all health food conferences. So this is going to be really cool. And it's a great way to end it. And I believe like this year was a really good year. I mean, it was really busy, really, really hectic. A lot of things happened, but overall, it's been a very successful year with you on tour. We've helped out so many clients to make the transition, make the move to East Tennessee. And it's just been really rewarding. But we're also looking forward to slowing down.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to November 1st.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
Yeah. So
to slowing it down and spending time with family.
we have,
And yeah, my dad, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast at all, but his health has been declining rather rapidly, and especially much in the last year. And so he's got dementia. And with that is a lot of the paranoia, a lot of the aggression, and very difficult to work with, like very difficult to reason with. And just the other day, he wanted me specifically to help him, change his sheets and change his clothes, get a shower, take him for a walk. And I realized that I really haven't spent that much time the way that I would want to care for our family. And so 2025, actually November of 2024, is going to be a time where after everything is done, we finished strong. Speaking commitments are complete. I really do want to spend the time to focus on us. Like, I also feel like I've let go of a lot of the things that I really enjoy, and being creative in the kitchen and cooking with mom and cooking with the children, making sourdough together, making water kefir, kombuchas, and playing with June and all the things like the fermentation, making misos. Like, let's just do it. And I think the lack of creativity is causing me a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration, because here I am speaking on, how to make your kimchi, how to improve your health through cooking from scratch. And I feel like I haven't been able to have that much time in the kitchen because I've been traveling, and you've been cooking more in the last couple of months. Every time I'm traveling, I'm really grateful for the fact that you and the children are picking it up in the kitchen, but I do miss the creativity that I enjoy very much.
yeah. Well, yeah, and I think you should give yourself some grace, because it is because of you. Like, you have a very nurturing heart. So I want to make a correction to what you stated about your father, and that you want, for those who are listening right now, it's not like Sophie forgot about him or neglected him at all. I mean, if anything, we're the ones that are taking care of him. We set up everything for him, and he's constantly on your mind every day. It's just a matter of circumstances. Like, he's very aggressive. And so unless you have a family member who has gone through it, you don't really understand what it can be, because he was living with us before, those
12 years.
yeah, before those traits came out. I mean, he was already a difficult person when he was normal. And so now it's been even more so, and with the aggression. So I want to make that correction there, because you have been doing a lot of things for him. But I think what you meant was that you want to just be more intentional in terms of spending more time with him. And I think that would be fair to say, to spend more time with him. You've been the first to help out, even with friends in this area too. We had a friend that had aortic aneurysm, and you were one of the first ones to volunteer to help and always check in on him as well. And so we're there for our community. Our community has been on top of our mind. And so the way that we think about, the way we reach out, it may be different than from other people, because other people may have a lot of time to be, right there. But we do check in, we do help as best as we can, and we will spend time, just like we spent time with Alicia. We did hands on deck, brought supplies, brought food to her location down in Gatlinburg to get for the helipad drops. And we will do whatever we can. We will carve out time in our busy schedule to make it happen, because there are just so many things that are going on. But yeah, family is really important. So we are going to get recentered and less speaking opportunities. I mean, we're going to take on less speaking gigs next year. and just
So I'm
refocus.
very much looking forward to the Modern Homesteading Conference. I'm actually
right
wearing this sweatshirt.
We're both going to be speaking.
It's actually my favorite, one of
Yeah.
my favorite sweatshirts.
We will still be, we'll still be going to that one. Yes.
Yes, that one is one that I wouldn't miss, and that one is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah. Did we even talk about the one that we put on, the Homesteads United?
Recap it?
I don't even know if we did a recap on that, but if you weren't able to attend, we actually had a Homesteaders United Jamboree, and that was in Asheville, right, literally, I mean, probably like about a month or so before Hurricane Helene came through. And that was a hugely successful event. I mean, we had so much positive feedback from everyone who attended. They just said, we want it again next year. And we were like, okay, well, we'll have to take a look at it and go back to the drawing board. But it was really nice because it was all hands on, and we had a really good time. I mean, it was for the first time we could actually like interact with everyone and spend all day. And this was intentional because we wanted to build community with this event. And that's why we had chefs come and prepare dinners, because at most events, people just take off and go to the hotels and go get their own food at night. But we wanted to be able to just hang out and spend more time and have that opportunity, give everyone the opportunity to just mingle with one another, to ask one another questions, because we acknowledge we may not be the subject matter experts at all these different things, but even the people that are attending may be experts at certain fields, and we can all learn from one another. And to our amazement, we thought we were going to be growing our community locally, but there were people from, oh my gosh, people from California, Minnesota, New York, I mean, you name it,
Hampshire,
all over the US. And so that was a beautiful thing just to see. And we had about 150 people. I mean, I know it was a very intimate event, but that made it even better. In fact, they said, we don't want you to add much more people, because we want to be able to have the same experience, if not, more, because, and they've provided a lot of feedback too on workshops that they want to take next year. And we were really excited and really encouraged by that feedback. So that would be another event that we would do next year. I know I just got done saying we're not going to do a bunch of events, but this event, and possibly if we're doing another one for Homesteads United, I mean, I
think you and I are split on that one.
Okay.
I don't think we're on quite the same page.
We'll see.
Look, I'm not, I would just want a caveat to say, I am not burnt out by the number of events, the speaking engagements at all. I think I'm burnt out by the unfortunate realizations of working with different people and different personalities. And I think that happens all the time in the tech industry, but I never would have expected that working in the homesteading space and working with people who I thought we were, on the same page with a lot of things. And so I think from that, the disillusioned perspective of working with people is where I'm very, very cautious and hesitant now.
Yeah.
And I think because we dove right in 2017 and really not knowing that homesteading was a thing. If you followed us in the very beginning of our podcast, we started in 2020 and 2021, we were going to Joel's. We didn't know any other homesteading thing. We didn't know it was called homesteading. We just wanted to be more self-sufficient. And so as the book came out and realizing that, it's called homesteading, and there's a bunch of people in the industry or in this world of wanting to be self-sufficient, we naively have entered the space thinking that everyone is coming from the same place of, hey, I want to help you.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, we live isolated lives here. I mean, especially us, we're up in the mountains. So we want to work, we want to get to know people. And then to have that realization that the people in this space might be the same types of people that I have worked with in the cutthroat tech industry has been so disappointing. So let me I know I went on a little.
People are people, and we've been disappointed because it's already a very small niche homesteading
Yeah.
and so why can't we all just get along? And it's just been a little disheartening because we thought people with like-minded, similar values would get along, and we find that there's just a variety of personalities, just like, hey, you know what? I experienced that too at West Point. I thought everyone's going to be like cream of the crop and like the best of the best. And I was disillusioned. There are some people, there are a lot of cadets that go there that don't even want to be there because their parents forced them to be there. And so those are the legacy folk. A lot of them are legacy. They just have to go because their parents went there and whatnot. So I totally hear you. And it's hurt us even more because when you get into homesteading, most of the time, a lot of your family and friends think you're crazy and they're not on board. So you lose your family and friends from where you came from and you move to a whole nother state. A lot of people are moving like to Tennessee, for instance. Let's just get, for example, from California to Tennessee, not that we have any experience there. And you go to a brand new place and you want to make friends, and homesteaders, are probably naturally more introverted already. So it takes a lot of energy and just to get out there and meet people. And then when you finally do and you think everything's great, then you just find out, you just kind of, your eyes get open to certain events that may happen. And so I don't want to like harp on it, but this is the realities of things. We just kind of tell it to you straight. We're just going to shoot straight with you.
Right. And I think that back in, March, April, when I came back from one of these meetups, I also talked about how in our world, in my world in tech and growth marketing, I talk about vanity metrics and like these numbers, right? The number of followers that somebody has online. And honestly, like that just means that person has figured out the algorithm, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have an engaged audience or that they're truly the people that they say they are online.
Yeah.
And I was disillusioned already back in March, and now like coming on the heels of this, it just, I think that with like influencer marketing, it lends well for people who have narcissistic tendencies. It lends very, very well. And so the problem with us is that as givers and as people who are like, I'm a caretaker for both my parents and family, that like I become an easy target for a narcissist, right? So this is something that, like, as someone who has studied psychology before as a profession, I had to be very clear with boundaries. And unfortunately, this is why I'm really looking forward to November, and I'm looking forward to 2025, where we can focus on us and spend time together as a family with people with the people we really truly love and matter.
We just want people to be real. That's all. And if you tuned into our last episode where we were interviewing Sean and Beth Doherty, they were talking about this very thing. In fact, they were talking about how the whole influencer market, where people would just get into homesteading so they can just build traffic to their social media sites. And if you check out Sean and Beth, they don't even have much of a social media presence, but they are the OGs of homesteading. They know what they're talking about. They live it. And if you've ever spent time with them, like if you go to any homestead conference, you're probably going to be meeting Sean and Beth. Like they're probably there already, and they'll be there, and they spend individual time with each person who asks them questions. And like they're real people. They're salt of the earth. And that's what we're just talking about right now. Like, just kind of tired of fake people. Let me just say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But and also where we're at, we have so many knowledgeable people here. And for example, one of our mentors, actually John and Maggie, episode 9, where we interviewed Maggie, like you can the reason why we interviewed her and them was because they don't have a social media presence, but they have been milking and been advocates of raw dairy, raw milk products since before Weston A. Price. Like Maggie was at the very first Weston A. Price Wise Traditions conference. And so these are people who are hands-on. They actually know what they're doing and what they're saying. They don't need to be online. Case in point, our other mentor, Benny, who lives in the mountains, she was affected by Hurricane Helene because she's at the border of North Carolina and East Tennessee.
She was literally living off grid.
And what did she do? She butchered 20 chickens without power, and she also canned 20 quarts of chicken meat
by herself.
That's up there.
She's tough
harvested about 120 pounds or so of sweet potatoes. She's like, well, what else was I going to do up here?
She's as gritty as they come. I mean,
right.
Just a role model right there.
And when November comes and it's ready for us, because we partner with her and we partner with John, who is our mentor, we all split up 100 chickens and we're all doing 30, 30, 30, 33 each.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going around and helping each other. But like, they are the people who are living with heart, living with grit, living with so much love and talent and skills, and they're not online.
Yeah.
So we're investing in these relationships.
It's like playing sports, you do it for the love of the game. And so all of our mentors and why we do it, because we're passionate about doing it. We want to be able to grow our own food and just be more self-sufficient as possible. We don't do it for the fame and notoriety. And for those who are doing it for the fame and notoriety, it's clearly apparent. It's very apparent. I mean,
and if it's not, people will find out sooner rather than later.
It is what it is. And we're just stating that. And so that's what we're clarifying in terms of, yes, there are a lot of things that you had to go to, and it would be great to have you home more and we can spend more quality family time. But we just also wanted to mention this as well, because this is something that you at home may not see, because you don't hear it. You don't see it on social media. Everything looks perfect on social media. Yeah. And so this is the ground truth. Again, the ground truth of what's going on, just like with a hurricane and with homesteading. So
yeah,
I think that's what I'm going to title this podcast episode: Hurricanes and Homesteading. I don't know, or the ground truth. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's see. I did have some notes on podcasts. Okay. I mean, I guess we could do another market update October, so we can do another one in a couple of weeks. But
yeah, we want to make sure that we give you up to date, up to the minute updates for the market, and it's not always buy or sell. And we just want to let you know like what we're seeing in the market, because we are both licensed in multiple states. So it's not just in Tennessee or just in our neck of the woods, but we can see like big picture wise what's going on, like even on the West Coast in California and major metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
So what else would you want to mention?
No, I mean, I don't want to talk about rates or anything like that. I think we already talked about that. And really, truly, if you are wanting to be more self-sufficient, there's no better time than now. It's, if not, a little getting a little gnarly with things that are going on in November. So position yourself well. I'm sure if you're following us, you're aware of the many things that are going on in the food and farming space. But I look forward to anybody who's going to be there at the Wise Traditions Conference. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Yeah, me too.
And having a good time and bookending this 2024 book tour there. So let us know if you're going to be there in Orlando, Florida.
In our episode tonight, it was not a message of fear, but a message of hope, really, because if anything, the message that we've been reminded time and time again over this past month was just a message of love. Whether it was Hurricane Helene and just seeing everyone just putting their hands together and coming together to help one another was really beautiful to see that come through. Spending time at Sukkot and having time with our family and just tent camping and just hanging out by the fire and slowing things down and not having our devices on all the time pinging was another reminder to just appreciate nature, appreciate what we have, And then just, with the housing market update and things like with dad too. So it's just been kind of nudging at us. And so we are going to slow things down. We're simplifying things. We're already drying up our cows this month as
Oh,
well. So
yes.
that's something that I wanted to mention, like in terms of what we're doing on our homestead. Not only are we just kind of pulling back on some of those things, but we're going to dry up the cows. They're already bred back, meaning, they're already AI'd. And so they are going to be due in February. But that's one of the toughest things I had to do, was notify our community members, hey, we're going to be drying up our cows by the end of this month. So that means no more milk, no more yogurt, no more butter. And some of them kind of lost their minds there, because they were like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to go store bought. And so,
and that breaks my heart to hear that. Like, someone said, do you have milk this week? Otherwise I'll go to the store. I'm like, we'll have milk.
We made it happen. Last year we had 3 cows, and we kept 1 cow on the whole time, so we provided milk year round. But
so we have been milking for 2 years, really 2.5 years straight. So it is right. I don't, like, we've always talked about this on the show, that we don't want to burn out from this lifestyle. It's not something that you can burn out from. Maybe from like my old tech jobs, where I was like, I'm just going to work until I can't anymore, and then
that's it.
Take 2 weeks off and jump to the next job. But that's not at all what we're after.
No.
This lifestyle that we're after is for sustainability, and we cannot afford to burn out.
You can't just be heads down and just hitting the grind. And because when you get out there, this is a lifestyle change. This is life.
But this, so many things, so much life depends on us now. It's not like I'm behind the computer screen, right? This is we've got cattle, we've got sheep, we've got chickens, ducks, turkeys. We have a full garden back there. And if it's neglected, then it dies. And that is not what we are called to do. No. So we're called to be good stewards. And though we're learning, and yes, we will have mistakes, this is something that is an intentional move for us to slow down and downsize. We are downsizing. We are taking the time off for our cows. They need a break. We need a break. We're going to be downsizing our East Frisian sheep.
Yeah, we are, because.
And this is all from Tim, by the way.
And I need to release that YouTube video, but I was working on one because I was procrastinating on shearing my sheep, and they should be sheared like twice a year. And oh my gosh, like I finally got to shearing them, and now it's starting to get cold. So and then they look terrible. There are some master shearers out there. I don't know what their names are, but I mean, like, there are some people that can shear them like within 8 minutes, and it's like this one piece, and it looks beautiful. And if you look at me, it takes me an hour, and it's just, anyways, it's like a bad haircut. I want to still have sheep. I'd like to have haired sheep. We're very proficient in harvesting sheep, and we want to be able to just grow enough food for our family. So East Frisian was more of the tri-purpose ones before we had cows.
It was our apocalyptic buy from California,
because they're number 1 in dairy for sheep, and they have, they're good size for meat as well. They have wool, so that's the tri-purpose, right, for the sheep. But at this stage, homesteading has been really good for us and our family, because it's made us a little bit more self-aware and just be more in tune with our bodies, with what we can take, how much stress, and how many things we can multitask, right? And we can naturally multitask, coming from Silicon Valley as well, and come from the military. Our backgrounds.
I can't take you seriously. I'm just looking at the dinosaur right now.
This is a good blend right here, like military and tech right here. Digital dinosaur. But hey,
sorry,
whatever brings a smile on your face. Okay, so but we're slowing things down in that aspect. We're still homesteading. We're just going to pull back on the reins a little bit and do things that are more manageable, because we don't want to get burnt out. We don't want the animals to suffer. We don't want our family to suffer. And that's key. You need to be able to say when, and not be afraid to say when, because oftentimes, especially in our society, it's like, no, I'm going to keep doing it, just, and there's no honor in that, like to just grit and bear it, right? And so I think it was good, and we had like a lot of good conversations on it. And it's not an easy thing to do to tell our clients this, because we don't want to disappoint our clients, or not. I'm sorry, not my clients, but our community members, just our friends who rely on us, and we want to be there all the time for them. But we need to give some break to us and to the cows.
Yeah.
So that's a good example.
Yeah, we're scaling back a lot
Yeah.
this 2025. And I think it's a good thing.
Scaling back on that, but there's still big things to happen in 2025. So we're going to be doing some really good goal setting, and we have some things that we're going to be planning to do in 2025, because we have some exciting things going on. I just launched Finding Your Homestead course. It's a video course on my website. If you go to homesteadingrealtor.com, and I am working on another video course on homestead security. And both of those topics, I'm really excited, because I'm going to be talking at the Modern Homesteading Conference on those two topics already. And those are two things that I'm really passionate about. It lends well to my experience being a West Pointer, being an Army combat veteran, and also being a combat engineer, where my sole job in the Army was to build fortifications and look at things with a different lens, where other like infantry guys are thinking about kicking down doors and getting the bad guys like that. I'm thinking more of, how do I strengthen a fortification? How do I breach an obstacle? How do I make this more defensible? And so that having that experience lends itself well to homesteading.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really excited to be able to give back and to be able to share what I've learned and from my experience in the military, as well as what I've learned so far in homesteading. And it has been drinking from a fire hose, but we are no strangers to that. That is something that we learned, bootstrapping and, running that rat race in the Silicon Valley to where we're at now. And I think I know that's why we've been able to gain a lot of the trust of our clients who speak to us, and they're from either the Silicon Valley, they're from the Northeast, they're just coming from busy city lives, and they want to be more intentional with what they're doing, and they want to grow their own food. And so we both take that mission to heart, and we want to help them relocate to, whether it's East Tennessee or other states. That's something that we can help them with. So just want to share that with you too. We've done the housing market update. I want to talk about the homesteading. And so if you have been affected by the hurricanes, our heart goes out to you. Please reach out to us. If there's something we can do, we'll keep you in our prayers as well. But we are interested, and have always been interested in knowing the truth, like in hearing from people. And it's one of the best things about what I miss about going to the homesteading conferences or a lot of these events, is that we often get to meet people, our listeners, and we get to hear from you, and that has really been a humbling experience too, because as I mentioned before, we endeavored on this just kind of like as a family project, and it has snowballed, and we've had some really awesome guests on our show, and we have a lot of fun too. So even with just the debrief at nights and just talking to you out there, it's really cool when you guys say hi to us when we're just out there, and I might be online for food or something like that. And it's really cool. Like, I want to hear from you, hear where you're at in your homesteading journey, how we've helped in that, or how we can help in it. So it's been really rewarding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it's 11 o'clock at night.
All right.
And I have to catch a flight in 5 hours.
Time for bed now. So
thank
hope you all
you,
have a great night.
everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Stay healthy. Stay safe.